The night outside was unusually crisp for early September in Charleston. Streetlights cast golden reflections on the wet pavement, and the low hum of distant traffic made everything feel both alive and quiet at the same time. Lila Jennings sat on her small apartment balcony, a glass of sparkling water in hand, staring at the skyline. Tonight was her birthday, but she wasn't feeling celebratory, not really. She sighed, tracing the rim of her glass. "Why does this feel complicated?" she murmured to herself. Her thoughts immediately went to her family, and more specifically, her older sister-in-law, Vanessa. Vanessa, a 28-year-old social media influencer, had a reputation for recording every waking moment of her life. And apparently everyone else's too. Lila had learned the hard way that asking Vanessa not to film something was like asking a hurricane to go around town quietly. Earlier that week, Lila had sent a carefully worded group text to her family, trying to set boundaries without sounding unreasonable. "Hey everyone, just a heads up, I'd like to celebrate my birthday without anyone filming or taking videos tonight. Photos are fine, but I want this evening to be about being present with all of you. Thanks." She had waited nervously for responses. Almost everyone replied with enthusiasm and love, except Vanessa, who responded with a string of emojis and a vague, "We'll see." Lila felt a small, sinking pit in her stomach. That "we'll see" was never good. The dinner reservation was at the Magnolia Room, a small, intimate restaurant tucked away near the historic district. Lila had chosen it for its warm lighting, quiet corners, and cozy private atmosphere. She wanted tonight to be simple: laughter, friends, family, good food, no screens, no interruptions. Her husband, Ben, arrived first, giving her a reassuring squeeze as she greeted him. "You look stressed," he said softly, placing a hand on her back. "It's going to be fine. Everyone's here to celebrate you tonight." Lila forced a smile. "I hope so. I really want tonight to feel normal. I don't want to be on camera the whole time." Ben nodded, giving her a look that mixed sympathy and mild amusement. "You've got this. Just stick to your boundaries. Vanessa can't ruin that for you." But even as he said it, Lila could feel the tension creeping back in. Vanessa had a way of turning the simplest gatherings into productions. She wasn't mean, exactly, but her relentless filming made every moment feel performative. And tonight, Lila was determined to keep control of her own celebration. When the rest of the family arrived, the mood was light. Lila's parents were there, her younger brother, and a few close friends. Vanessa arrived last, of course, with a camera bag slung over her shoulder like she was about to shoot a mini documentary. "Happy birthday, Lila," Vanessa chirped, tossing her a small bouquet. But instead of handing it gently, she pulled her camera from the bag and started filming as Lila reached for the flowers. Vanessa, remember what I said?" Lila asked, her voice tight. Vanessa laughed, upbeat but insistent. "Relax, I just want a little birthday clip. It'll be fun, you'll love it." Ben gave Lila a subtle glance, a silent, "Don't escalate it," while Lila forced a polite smile. "Thanks, but really, I'd like to just enjoy tonight." Vanessa pouted dramatically for the camera. Fine, no filming. For now," she said, though the "for now" was dripping with mischief. As appetizers arrived, Vanessa's camera reappeared, just pointed at the table, capturing hands reaching for bread, laughter at a joke. Lila's heart sank a little each time she saw the glowing lens pointed at her, even indirectly. She tried to focus on the conversation, sipping her wine and nodding along. But every few seconds, Vanessa whispered, "This would look amazing on my story," and waved the camera at the table like a warning flag. Lila's friend, Mia, leaned over and whispered, "Don't let her get to you. Tonight's about you. You're allowed to enforce your boundaries." I know, Lila whispered back, her jaw tight. I hate conflict." Conflict was exactly what Vanessa seemed to thrive on. It wasn't intentional cruelty, but it was like she had no filter between herself and her content creation. Everything in the room could become a video. Everything could be repurposed, shared, edited, and uploaded. Lila felt trapped in a world where she was an unwilling actor. By the time the main course arrived, Lila's nerves were frayed. Vanessa had filmed the bread basket, the sparkling wine pour, and even a casual toast to Lila from her father. Every time, Lila had quietly asked her to stop, and each time Vanessa had giggled or said something dismissive, "Come on, it's just a little fun." The restaurant's dim lighting reflected off the polished wood tables. Lila felt like a guest in her own party, performing a careful dance around the ever-present camera. Her hands hovered over her plate, not wanting to make a gesture that could be misconstrued for the camera. Ben reached across the table, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. "It's okay," he whispered. "Deep breaths. You've got this." Lila nodded, trying to calm herself. She had planned every detail of tonight, where to sit, who to invite, even the order of the meal, so that it would feel right. She wasn't about to let someone hijack it, even if that someone was family. As the waiter approached with the dessert menu, Lila's stomach twisted. This was the moment she'd been dreading all week, the cake. The centerpiece of any birthday, and inevitably the moment Vanessa would decide she needed footage. "I just want to sit quietly for 5 minutes while we enjoy dessert," Lila muttered under her breath, more to herself than anyone else. Mia reached over and squeezed her shoulder. "You can do this. Stand your ground. It's your night. You get to decide what happens." Lila nodded, feeling a mixture of dread and determination. Tonight, she wasn't just celebrating a birthday. She was standing up for herself, and deep down, she knew the real challenge wasn't the food or the drinks. It was the storm that was about to erupt when Vanessa inevitably pointed that camera in her face. And as Vanessa returned from the restroom, phone in hand and camera already recording, Lila's heart sank. The calm before the storm was over. The real test of boundaries and patience was about to begin. The warm glow of the magnolia room made the space feel cozy, but Lila felt a growing unease. Vanessa was already perched at the edge of the table, camera ready, scanning the group for moments to capture. Every laugh, every toast, every hand gesture seemed like an opportunity for her lens. Lila tried to focus on the conversation with her parents, who were reminiscing about her childhood birthdays. But each time someone laughed, Vanessa's camera would swing toward them like a hawk, always hunting for the perfect shot. "You know," Lila whispered to Mia, leaning close, "I don't even think she's listening anymore." Mia followed Vanessa's gaze with her own eyes. "She's treating this like a production, not a dinner. Honestly, I'd be frustrated too if I were you." Lila nodded, but kept her voice quiet. She didn't want to make a scene, at least not yet. She reminded herself, "This is your night. You get to set the rules." Vanessa suddenly turned her camera directly toward Lila, her grin wide and exaggerated. "Birthday girl alert. Lila, say hi." Lila froze. Her stomach twisted. She shook her head quickly. "Vanessa, please stop." Vanessa's grin faltered slightly, but she didn't lower the camera. Instead, she leaned closer, whispering conspiratorially, "Come on, this will just be a quick clip. You'll look amazing." "I don't want it," Lila said, louder this time, a flush creeping across her cheeks. She raised her hand instinctively, placing it over the camera lens for a moment to block it. Vanessa's expression flickered with surprise, then mild indignation. "Lila, seriously, I was just trying to get a good shot. This is my job, you know that." Her words struck Lila like a cold slap. "Her job? My birthday isn't her job." Ben quickly intervened, trying to ease the tension. "Okay, let's all just calm down. Lila wants a quiet night. Vanessa, maybe put the camera down for now." Vanessa huffed but lowered the phone slightly, muttering, "Fine, fine, but this is going to ruin my footage." Lila's mother, sitting across the table, leaned forward with a gentle, almost pleading expression. "Lila, honey, maybe just let it go for tonight. It's not a big deal." Lila's hands trembled slightly as she replied, her voice firm. "It is a big deal. It's my birthday. I should be able to enjoy it without feeling like I'm a prop in someone else's video." The words hung in the air, heavy and tense. A silence fell over the table for a moment, the clinking of cutlery louder than usual against the quiet tension. Vanessa's lips pressed into a thin line, and Lila could feel everyone's eyes on her. As the main courses were cleared and the waiter began arranging the dessert plates, Vanessa leaned toward her friend sitting beside her. "I just can't believe she's making such a fuss. It's just one little video." "She's your sister-in-law," the friend said softly. "She's allowed to want some privacy." Vanessa rolled her eyes. Yeah, I get it, but this is my work. If I don't capture content, I lose engagement, sponsorships." She trailed off, but the frustration in her voice was clear. Lila's chest tightened. She wanted to scream, "This isn't work, it's my night." But she forced herself to remain calm, counting to 10 under the table. Ben reached over again, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. "Ignore it for now," he whispered. "Just a few more minutes. We're almost there." Then came the moment she had feared. The waiter carried out the cake. It was small, elegantly decorated, with a single candle flickering in the dim light. Lila felt a mix of excitement and dread. This should have been the highlight of the night. Vanessa's eyes lit up, and before anyone could react, the camera snapped toward Lila's face. "Birthday girl reveal," she exclaimed. Lila froze, her hand shooting up instinctively to cover the lens. "Stop! Vanessa, stop!" The room felt like it shifted around her. Vanessa leaned back slightly, looking offended. "What? I was just trying to get the perfect shot." "This isn't about your shots," Lila snapped, her voice breaking slightly. "It's my birthday. I told you no filming." Her mother-in-law leaned forward again, frowning. "Lila, please, just let it go for one night. Don't make it a big deal." Lila's jaw tightened. "No, this is my night. I get to decide what happens." Ben tried to diffuse the tension, but Vanessa's muttered complaints grew louder. "I have to scrap everything now. This was supposed to be perfect content." Lila felt a wave of frustration. She had paid for her own dessert, carefully chosen the location and set boundaries that were being ignored, and now the climax of the evening, her cake moment, was being hijacked. Mia leaned across, whispering urgently, "Lila, don't let her get to you. Stay firm." Lila nodded, swallowing back the surge of anger. She wasn't going to allow someone else to control her night, no matter how persuasive or viral they were. By the time the cake was finally set in front of Lila and everyone sang the birthday song, the air was thick with tension. Vanessa kept glancing at her phone, muttering under her breath about scrapped footage and lost shots. Lila forced a polite smile as she blew out the candle, her hands trembling slightly. The celebratory cheer felt hollow. Instead of laughter and joy, Lila felt the weight of intrusion, the frustration of violated boundaries, and the awkwardness of family divided between fun and filming. Ben leaned close, whispering, "Let's just get through dessert, okay? We'll leave when you want." And as the first bite of cake touched her lips, Lila realized the night she had dreamed about, calm, intimate hers, was slipping through her fingers, replaced by tension she hadn't anticipated. The storm was just beginning, and she knew the evening had only one way to go from here. The flicker of the birthday candle reflected in Lila's eyes as she set down the small fork she had been using. For a brief moment, she tried to convince herself to enjoy the sweetness of the chocolate cake, the glow of soft lighting, and the voices around her. But the tension was unbearable. Vanessa's camera hadn't left her side since the birthday girl reveal, and with every muttered complaint about ruined footage, Lila felt her patience thinning. "You're filming everything," Lila said quietly, her voice low but sharp. "Even this moment that's supposed to be mine." Vanessa shrugged, still holding the camera up. "I'm capturing memories. You'll thank me later." "No, I won't," Lila shot back, her hands trembling with frustration. "This isn't about memories for you. This is my birthday, my night, and you're ruining it." Her voice carried across the table, causing a ripple of discomfort. Ben reached out, trying to place a calming hand on her arm. "Lila, it's okay, let's not make it worse," he murmured. But she shook him off gently, needing to speak her truth. "You're not listening," she continued, louder now, anger finally overtaking her nerves. "I asked for one simple thing, don't film me. Not now, not here, and yet you're still holding that camera in my face." Vanessa's cheeks flushed, a mix of frustration and indignation. I can't just turn off my job. This is what I do. I create content. If I don't, I lose everything. You are not your job tonight, Lila snapped. I am not a prop for your videos. I am not your content. The room fell silent. The other diners at the small restaurant glanced briefly, sensing the tension, while Lila's parents shifted uncomfortably. Her mother's face was a mixture of concern and exasperation. Lila, maybe it's not worth it. Just let it go for one night, she said, her voice pleading. Let it go? Lila repeated incredulously, her hands curled into fists on the table. Do you hear yourself? This is my celebration. I set the rules, and I expect them to be respected. Vanessa's lower lip trembled slightly, her grip tightening on the camera. You don't understand. I had it all planned. The lighting, the angles, it was going to be perfect. Now it's ruined. Ben finally stood, his face firm as he addressed Vanessa. Vanessa, this isn't about your perfect footage. This is about Lila. She's asked you repeatedly to stop. This is her night. You need to respect that. Vanessa's eyes flicked between Ben and Lila, her expression softening for a fleeting second, then hardening again. I can't just delete the footage. I need it. My followers, my brand, everything depends on this content. Lila's mother groaned quietly. You're not thinking about anyone else's feelings. Can't you just… No! Lila cut her off, her voice louder than she intended. The words echoed in the restaurant, making Vanessa flinch. No one is thinking about my feelings. I planned this night. I worked for it. I didn't ask for your job to take over my birthday. And I will not let it happen. Her heart pounded in her chest as she spoke. She had never raised her voice like this to family, but something in her snapped. The constant intrusion, the dismissive attitude, the endless muttering about ruined content. It all boiled over. Vanessa's friend leaned in from across the table, trying to mediate. Maybe if we calm down. Lila waved her off, standing suddenly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. No, I'm done. I'm not negotiating anymore. Tonight is over for me. Ben immediately got up beside her. Let's go, he said quietly, guiding her toward the door. Vanessa's voice followed them, frustrated and indignant. You can't just leave. You've ruined everything. My content. Everything. Lila didn't answer. She just walked toward the exit, her chest tight, stomach churning, and tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. The restaurant staff looked on awkwardly, sensing the tension but unsure how to intervene. Outside, the cool night air hit Lila's face. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Ben wrapped an arm around her shoulder, offering silent support. I can't believe that just happened, she whispered, her voice shaky. You did the right thing, Ben replied. You stood up for yourself. Nobody, not even Vanessa, gets to dictate your happiness on your birthday. Back at the apartment, Lila poured herself a glass of water and sank onto the couch. The events of the evening replayed in her mind. Vanessa's constant muttering, the camera shoved in her face, the awkward comments from her mother-in-law. She felt exhausted, angry, and strangely empowered. Mia called her shortly after, checking in. Are you okay? She asked gently. Lila let out a deep breath. I'm okay. I'm frustrated, but I'm also relieved. I finally said what I needed to say. I finally put myself first. Mia chuckled softly. Good. That's all anyone can ask. Sometimes you have to push back, even if it feels uncomfortable. You're allowed to protect your boundaries. Lila smiled faintly, though her shoulders still ached from the tension. She realized that tonight wasn't just about cake, candles, or even family. It was about asserting herself, claiming her space, and refusing to be silenced. But as she leaned back against the couch, she knew the confrontation wasn't over. Vanessa would call, message, maybe even post something online, and Lila would have to decide how far she was willing to go to maintain her peace and her boundaries. The birthday had ended in chaos, but in that chaos, Lila found clarity. She had drawn a line, and nothing and no one would cross it without her consent again. The apartment felt unusually quiet when Lila and Ben closed the door behind them. The sounds of the city drifted faintly through the windows, but inside it was still, almost painfully so. Lila sank onto the couch, rubbing her temples as the tension of the evening finally caught up with her. Ben sat beside her, his presence calm and steady. "You did the right thing tonight," he said softly. "You stood your ground. Nobody can take that away from you." Lila let out a shaky breath. "I know, but it's not just about me. Vanessa, she's going to be upset for days. My mum will probably call and I'll have to deal with everyone else trying to smooth things over. I feel like I ruined the night for everyone." Ben shook his head firmly. "No, you didn't ruin anything. You just made it clear what's okay and what's not. That's not ruining. It's surviving with dignity." The phone buzzed on the coffee table. It was a text from Vanessa, short and clipped. "I can't believe you walked out. My footage is gone. Seriously, Lila." Lila stared at the message for a moment, her stomach twisting. Part of her wanted to reply, to justify herself, to explain the hurt and frustration. But another part of her, the stronger, calmer part, knew it wasn't worth it. She deleted the text. "No reply," she whispered to Ben. "Not tonight. Not ever." Ben nodded approvingly. "Good. You've already said everything you needed to. Words on a screen won't change that." Later that evening, Lila reflected on the night's events, scrolling back through her memories. Every detail, the way Vanessa had barged in with the camera, the dismissive comments, the tension around the table, played like a replay in her mind. It was exhausting, but as she thought about it, a subtle sense of pride began to emerge. She had drawn a line and stood by it. She had refused to allow someone else's obsession with content to control her life. For the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of empowerment. Her phone buzzed again, this time a message from Mia. "You did amazing tonight. Boundaries are hard, but you defended yours beautifully. Proud of you." Lila smiled. "Thank you, Mia," she whispered. "I needed to hear that." The next morning brought a new layer of reflection. Lila's mother called, her voice cautious but gentle. "I know things got tense last night. I just want you to know I'm not angry. I just wish it could have been smoother." Lila took a deep breath. "I understand, Mom, but it's my night, and I can't sacrifice my comfort for someone else's content, even if it's family." Her mother paused, then sighed. "You're right, I hope Vanessa understands eventually, and I hope you can forgive the awkwardness." "I can forgive the situation," Lila said. "I just won't allow it to happen again." Over the next few days, Lila noticed subtle shifts. Vanessa avoided her calls and didn't post anything about the birthday online. Lila didn't mind. In fact, she felt relieved. The storm had passed, leaving her with the calm clarity of self-respect. She reflected on the broader lesson. Life was full of people who would try to push boundaries, consciously or unconsciously. Standing up for yourself wasn't always easy. It was uncomfortable, sometimes awkward, and occasionally lonely, but it was necessary. And in that reflection, Lila found a small but profound truth. You don't have to endure someone else's agenda at the cost of your own peace. Protecting your boundaries is not selfish, it's essential. A week later, Lila walked into the kitchen with a small smile. She poured herself a cup of coffee and sat by the window, feeling lighter than she had in days. She didn't need anyone else to validate her decisions. The night of chaos had passed, but the lessons stayed. She thought about the cake, the candles, the tense stares, and Vanessa's relentless camera. And she realized that the birthday she had feared would be ruined had in fact become a turning point. A moment where she claimed ownership over her life, her choices, and her joy. As the sunlight filtered through the blinds, Lila whispered to herself, "This is mine, and I will never let anyone take it from me again." And with that, she felt a quiet triumph. Not over Vanessa, not over her family, but over fear, hesitation, and the idea that she had to bend for anyone else's convenience. Tonight, and every night after, she would celebrate life, her way. Moral takeaway: boundaries aren't optional, they're essential. Standing up for yourself can be uncomfortable, but true respect begins when you protect your own peace. Life is too short to let others control your joy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.